Hello, welcome to another Ready and Roll video. Today we're getting back on Delta Green. Mostly because I've had the books with me for a while now, been reading through them, and I realised I haven't put out a video on the Handler's Guide. And it's a fun book. It's a really chunky book, and it's a really interesting read, whether you are someone who's running games of Delta Green, or you just want to read about a really interesting organization and some really fun modern takes on, you know, the Lovecraft mythos type stuff. So yeah, let's get into that. If you want to see more like this, then would very much appreciate you clicking on that little subscribe button down there. And yeah, let's get into it, because it's a chunky book with a lot of information in it. It is 370 odd pages. It's a big book compared to the other book that comes in this set. Is, you know, your Agent's Handbook is a good deal smaller. So yeah, the Handler's Guide, as it suggests, is a guide for handlers, or GMs, game masters, or keepers, as they are called in Call of Cthulhu. Opening up, you get this really nice double page, really setting the scene, creating a bit of a mood for you before you go in. Yeah, huge table of contents, and then straight on into introductions. Introduction to the world of Delta Green, about running Delta Green, the little various bits on how to be a handler. You've got little tips down here. There we go. So yeah, all sorts of little bits on the introduction. Yeah, and then we go into the first main chapter of the book that details the history, early days of Delta Green as an organization. Yeah, I won't go into that too much, because I think that's just fun to read for yourself. Again, we have more information, sort of side notes. Not gonna, spend too much time on this, because what this book is effectively is a lore book for people running the game. So go through the history of Delta Green from its early days in its involvement in Innsmouth in the 1920s, through to its early operations following that, information on connections to things like Roswell, Area 51, that sort of stuff. So if you wanted to run that type of game, you definitely could. Yeah, like I say, a lot of it is background on the organization and the game. So if you wanted to run something that's super in depth, super detailed, you certainly can. And it's definitely an interesting read. if this is your sort of thing, your dark style storytelling. As ever, the art's really, really interesting, really evocative. Um, the layout's great. It's easy to read. You're not, you know, this isn't Morkborg where you're having to struggle to read everything and you need a plain text copy. This is really good on its own. Um, maybe get a PDF because it is a big book, and it's not an easy one to just sit up and read. So that's where the PDF, as ever, comes in handy, and you can also search the PDF, rather than having to flip through page by page. Yeah, it's a lovely book. I haven't read through all of it. I've only read through a couple, a few pages. But yeah, there's loads of information that will help you run your games, um, and I think it's a question you want to ask yourself is, do you need this book? Obviously, if you're just a player in a Delta Green game, no, you don't. You definitely don't need this book. It just, you know, it's the Handler's Guide. And that's a lot of that is just not needed for you. But if you are running games of Delta Green, then it varies on if you're running pre-gen scenarios, in which case I'd sort of argue once again, no, not really, because your pre-generated scenarios will have all the information you need already in them. They will have all the stats for your encounters and what you should be asking your players to roll. So this book it's not a must, unlike the Agent's Handbook, which I think if you are running a game of Delta Green and you have a good number of players, definitely get the Agent's Handbook because it's great. And it comes with options that the Need to Know, I think it's called, book doesn't. Like, it comes with extra, information on your various jobs, things like that, and extra background so that your players can have that aren't included in the Need to Know. So yeah, whereas this book is not essential. It's good to have because even if you're only running pre-gens, there are bits in this book that you may not know, and you can build on them in various ways based on the information in this book that could lead on to potentially creating your own scenarios, which it's not easy. Let me tell you, writing homebrew content for any game is hard. Yeah, obviously, as well as lore and information, it comes with a lot of information on how to play the game. It comes with quite an extensive bestiary, I guess. So you've got shit like a mix of things that are more contemporary and more original to Delta Green as a setting, and you've got things like the Migo, which are classics of Lovecraft's work. So, yeah, which that art's weird. I love it. 'cause it shows you what they are, but in a weird sort of abstract way that makes you still not really know what they are, which I think is great. Yeah, I think, especially going back on, is it worth it? I think it's also a question of, do you want to spend the money on this book, because it's a chunky hardback book, and chunky hardback books, I don't know if the price is on this one, because it's um yeah, no, I don't think it's on here. But yeah, you can probably expect to pay 30 or 40 quid for this, probably closer to 40, maybe even 50. Because I know when I bought the box that comes with both of them, this was 70 quid, I think. Which I don't think I've shown this off much, so I will, because I haven't. I think it's a cool box. There we go. I think that's upside down. No, it's just the handler's guide that's upside down. So yeah, you can get this really nice sort of collector's box edition that comes with the handler's guide and the agent's handbook, which basically that's everything you're going to need to play or run Delta Green. And it's, as you can see, mine's a little bit banged up because it's a thing I own. But yeah, it's a really cool box rather. But yeah, once again, I don't know if I'd recommend this. Maybe test out the game to see if you like it. I heard one actual play episode of it and went, I need this in my life. So I bought it, and I still haven't run it about 18 months later. Maybe even more. I think I bought this while I still had a job. But yeah, if you are a fan of things like X-Files, things like that, I very much recommend picking this up, because it's good. I think this is kind of hard to find now, but obviously you can still get your individual books from wherever you get your Delta Green stuff, which for me turns out is Leisure Games in North London, which I didn't know they sold, Delta Green stuff. I don't think I know any other place that sells Delta Green books, which is good to know. I mean, it's a hike to get up there from where I am. It's a good couple hours, like nearly, maybe not a couple hours, but hour and a half, depending on what the train and tubes are like. But yeah, it's an option for me now to get more Delta Green, which I'm glad for. Because I managed to pick up, is it Visid? So yeah, expect a review of that at some point in the future. So yeah, in brief, the Handler's Guide, get it if you are thinking about writing homebrew stuff, or you want to expand the scope of the pre-written scenarios. But if you are just going for the pre-written scenarios and not really that fussed about expanding it, or if you're just starting out in running Delta Green or TTRPGs in general, maybe skip it for now. It's a good book, but or at the very least, maybe just don't get the hard copy. Just get the PDF. That's also a good option. That way it's not taking up space on your bookshelf. But if you find that you might need it, it's there for you. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, was, it's always interesting looking at different games from places that aren't, Games Workshop or Wizards of the Coast. And every time I, see that these videos are getting views, it makes me happy, because I like sharing things that aren't, of those companies. Like I love what those companies do. I don't love those companies, so I'm always looking for something a little bit different. So yeah. Um, as ever, if you did like this, a like, a comment, subscribe would always be appreciated. Um, you know, Tell us what your favorite scenario for Delta Green is, or any other TTRPG that gives a similar vibe to Delta Green. That paranormal, like, investigation type vibe that fits in with things like the X-Files. So yeah, let's hear it. And if you're not commenting, then I just hope you have a nice day. And obviously, everyone else. See ya. Oh, shit. Almost had a clean video there. See ya.